Hey guys, welcome to day one of Austere August 2021. And this is going to become a very familiar set for me over the next month. I specifically chose the Karve Christopher Bradley with the B plate. It did really well with the old Nacet blade during the Lather games in June. And then also, I love the Chiseled face scent that they do with Midnight Stag. And this is my prize, the soap here in the older style with the aftershave. And then I also do have the cologne. This is the EDP. And so I will be using that this month. And I was intending to use my Smug Owners Club that I wanted to put a bunch of uses on, but because of my recent room move, I couldn't find it. I should have set it aside. But this is another brush. This is an Omega, and it's the Jade Connaught. It's a faux Jade, and you get it from Connaught Shaving, and it has a wide knot with a slightly shorter loft than a lot of the other Smogs, like the Owners Club. And so I'm really interested in getting more uses on this one. And so I grabbed it in case I couldn't find the other. And I think I'm going to have a great month with it as well. So not worrying about that at all. And so I did take a shower, so I do have a clean face. It is 2 days of growth is what we'll be working on. I have soaked this during the shower, so he is plenty hydrated. And I think, what are we dealing with? We start this month with 407 uses on the Nacet blade. 100 here, plus the 300 that are on the tiny envelope, and then 7 uses. So today is the 408th. And so my goal is to get past like 426. That is the landmark by a recent shaver in our wet shaving end of the world. And this does have the etching that, if I hold it right, you can see there should be an N right there and a 1 right there, lightly etched. I didn't want to change and deform the shape of the blade by a heavy etch. And then we've got the remnants of a couple of Sharpie dots that we've had for quite a good number of shaves for this Nacet blade. And then you can still see the wound down here where the blade was bent. So we've been working on a bent blade now for a while. So let's put that in. And this is the Gladius handle, which I really enjoy, 3 1/4 inches in length. And the B plate. The parts of the handle here have been polished by hand, and so has the top cap here. And I really like the look of that. I'm glad I did it. And then, and there we go. Now, one of the little tweaks about this Nacet blade is that I haven't flipped it. I inadvertently used it once on the opposite side, but all the rest of the uses, 406 uses, have been with it on one side with that etching, with those marks facing the handle. So we're going to keep on with that. I don't know how many times we'll go until we flip it, and that's what we'll just find out, right? So this is a few years old, this design. I think it's really cool. And I won it at at a charity auction kind of thing. And I got all the other gear. I also got the bar soap that was with it as well. Came in this cool Chiseled face soap bag. And just showered with it. So I've already inundated my nose with Chiseled face. The soap is a little on the old side, and so its scent is not quite as strong as the more modern version. But that's okay because I've got all the other liquid forms to carry over, right? And Austere August, if you participate in it, can be done at different levels. You can simply use the same soap all month. Maybe you're trying to dial in a soap that's problematic for you. You could also use the same razor and the same soap all month. You could use the same, whatever gear you want. If you want to do that, like if you've got a razor, a brush, maybe you want to put a bunch of uses on, you've got a razor that you want to try to tweak and figure out the best angle. You know, it's just a time to be austere for various purposes. And it's a counter to the great variety that is usually put out in the lather games in June. So we had a month there of July to chill out and relax and use whatever we wanted. And now it's a month of Austere August of the same gear. And so those people who tune into my channel for variety are going to be lacking a little bit for this month. That's just the way we roll. All right. And this does help me to, it does different purposes. By using one soap all month, you really ache for the end of the month to where you can play around with all the different soaps that you might have. So it makes you appreciate. Last year I did MDC, I believe, and because I wanted to see how long after I used it for a month, I waited beginning and ending, and then I was able to see how long the soap was going to give me before I used up the jar. And it was over 3 years at my rate, but I also discovered I didn't really like that soap. It wasn't a luxurious base for me. By the time I watered it enough to keep it from being kind of pasty and dry feeling on my face, it just wasn't nourishing and luxurious and creamy. And so, you know, there we go. We learned something, right? But we got some good usage data that I've been able to use plenty of times since I did that that month. So let us start everything up, and you can follow along with Austere August. You could even pick just one razor to use all month. You could pick there's not really any official prizes like there is with the lather games, and so but there are side contests. Is it Summer Break Soaps? The guy who does that, he has a side contest where you use unscented soap and no scented products at all, even a cologne, all month. Because he even phrases it this way. He said, I just want to play with you guys. And then he rewards you, if you complete it, with going into a drawing for free soap or free gear or free brush, you know, something like that. All right, well, we've got this guy. I shook out most of the water, and let's go ahead and load up, and then we can keep on talking with that. Now, this is the older base, and it's been a while it's been used. Not older base, but it's probably been a while. I got a feeling this is the same base as the one that has the more contemporary artwork. 45 rolled around right there. Let's just do 30 seconds of loading. Surely that'll be enough. The year that I did do Midnight Stag, I think I got down to maybe 10 seconds of loading was the perfect amount. But you've got carryover moisture when you use the soap every day, and so you're not going to start out at 10 seconds of loading. You kind of have to get there after a few uses of building up the moisture. So we had definitely enough water in here to kind of get some foamy stuff built up. And this is one of those kind of older school bases. It's a tallow base that does have some high structure of foam there, airiness, but it's got a nice layer of slickness that it leaves on your skin. I have used this soap for a whole month, maybe 2 years ago. And while it's not a premium base with amazing performance, it's a good performance. And of course, the reason I turned to Chiseled Face brand so many times is because of their amazing scents. Sherlock and Midnight Stag and some other manly scents kind of like that. You're struggling with your lathering skills, then Austere August might be a great month to lock in on one certain soap base. Use that one soap base for the whole month. Now maybe you can switch different scents in that same soap base. Like if you got 3 different sterling soaps that are in their regular beef tallow base. And so you could go back and forth. And that way you know what you're going to be able to do. You're going to get a good feel for the moisture level, for how it looks when it has the right moisture that you prefer in your lather. You could face lather for the whole month if you wanted to. I'll probably do some face lathers with the Midnight Stag here just to change things up. Already we've got something, you can look at the texture there and see that we're on our way, and it's still kind of dry. And I'm kind of sad that I'm not going to be able to put 31 uses on my Taj handled Smoke Owners Club, but I am looking forward to using this one. This is a very well regarded Omega across the shaving internet spectrum. A lot of people like what it brings to the table. It's not floppy because they've shortened the loft a little bit. The tips do get soft and split, you know, once they break in. It's just a special knot that they put together for this run, and you can get it at Connaught Shaving, Connaught Shaving, and they're in the UK. So we've added some water, I don't know, 15 milliliters or something like that. It's holding on to itself, dropping a little bit, keeping its shape as it goes in. This is probably a lather that I don't need to take quite as far as I do with sterling or fine accoutrements. Those are just a little bit better bases in terms of maintaining that creaminess. By using the same stuff, you eliminate variables, and so it's a great month to work on some aspect of your shave if you want to. Now, in the past, Stephen Joyner from Dogwood Handcrafts has given prizes because Midnight Stag is his favorite scent. He's given prizes for guys who went the whole month using it. It's another reason why some guys are choosing to use Midnight Stag. I think officially he hasn't announced that he's going to do anything this time. Wally Gator on the Reddit wet shaving sub is the one who put out and kind of officially mentioned the Austere August Midnight Stag challenge. Those people on Reddit who also do it get a flare. I've already had the Knights of Stag flare now for a couple of years because I did it a couple of years ago. And then I think for people who did it last year too, where it was their second time, their flare got upgraded to Noble Officer of Stag or something to that effect. So since I chose MDC last year, I did not get that upgrade. But I was having kind of family issues last year, and Midnight Stag just does not agree with the rest of my family. And so I didn't want to cause family issues. And look at the texture we have now compared to the very beginning. You can see how just pillowy it is. There's a far fewer peaks, that sort of thing. We've got plenty of lather to work with here. All right, let's go. Let's just see if this is going to be a good quantity here. Get my face all wet. All right. So Chiseled Face did move into the current market of something with more moisturization by making a formula called the Silk Tallow version, and it takes quite a bit of product to get a good lather from it. And so from the very beginning they have not specified. They've been very clear that they're not going to move away from this tallow base here. This is a more normal type usage where you're going to get a lot more shaves compared to the new silk tallow version. Now we've already got a good bit of thickness here, so I'm going to just kind of add a little bit of water to the brush here. And we've got the lather jumping ship. So I'll definitely get used to how wet I like this lather. This old formulation is still giving me a good scent strength here. I think I was even able to get down to just 7 seconds of loading with this soap a couple years ago. However, when I got to that third pass, I just didn't have as much margin as I usually wanted. And I had enough, but I just wanted a little extra, and so I think 10 or 11 seconds is where I kind of finally hit my really good sweet spot. This brush feeling very good, not super dense. It doesn't offer severe backbone, and I think that's one of the reasons why people like it. It's got more coverage. It's definitely got more backbone than some of the other Omegas, like the Pro 48, you know, those long loft Omegas. Yeah, we definitely could be adding more water into that lather. All right, now the Nacet, I've used some recent blades and had fun doing that in July that were wonderfully sharp, and just a couple of them would mow through several days of growth without even thinking. Well, now we're back to a different story. We'll see how long we can get this Nacet to keep going. Back to getting that kind of tuggy feeling. And the Nacet definitely doesn't like to work with more than 1 day of growth. So we'll definitely, that's even more motivation to shave every day so that you get your credit for Austere August. Now once we do get this first pass down, it'll be fine. And there we go. So I believe this is the 4th Austere August that I participated in. The first one was with Williams Mug Soap because I wanted to try to combat the negative stereotype that soap has. I used it all month, had great shaves all month. Was trying to also figure out a really optimal method to lather it up. I don't know that I ever stumbled upon a good quick way, but I definitely had some great creamy lathers, and I was very happy with the types of lathers that I had. The next year is when I did my first Midnight Stag. Then the next year was last year with the I used vetiver from MDC, Martin de Condre. And so this is the 4th one, my 2nd time doing Midnight Stag. And I did add a little bit more water to the lather here, and I took a minute off camera to just kind of work that in. My videos, if I can keep them under a certain time frame, I can just upload them directly to YouTube. Instead of having to move them to my computer and splice them together. So I might put some parts off camera. You can feel the slickness here of the lather. It may be more airy and not have quite those moisturizing ingredients that the newer bases do, but that doesn't mean it's bad, right? It just means it's different. And I mean, especially for me, all I want is a good, slick soap. And sometimes those oils and butters can actually slow my razor down, because the soap is actually a lot slicker than butter. Can feel just a little bit more tugginess since we started out with more hair than the I don't want to quite do that direction quite yet, so let's kind of on the neck keep it somewhat with the grain still. There we go. And let's get a rinse. And so it's not going to be uncommon here this month for me to do 4 passes of shaving, because that's usually what I have to do with a Nacet. I've been enjoying 3 passes all July. And if you're unfamiliar with my channel and you're wondering why I'm using a blade so many times, is it because I'm cheap and I want to try to squeeze every last cent out of this blade when it only cost a few cents in the first place? Nope, that's not the reason. This is just kind of pure scientific curiosity. How many shaves can I go with a blade? And I just happened to pick the Nacet back in 2018 because I had used it a few times, and at that time it was not a popular blade in many circles. Didn't really see a lot of people using it, and I was really enjoying my shaves with it. And so I thought, hey, I'll use this blade that not a lot of people are really fond of, or maybe have forgotten about, or whatever. And that way, if it turns out to be good, then we can draw some good attention to it. Well, because of my efforts, it definitely has had attention drawn to it, that's for sure. All right, that was even more, we're starting to get more into a comfort zone here with the 3rd pass there. Cross grain on my face. With over here, I don't know if I have some irritation that I generated, but I did have to focus on with the grain over here instead of going cross grain for the most part. So that's the 3rd pass down. And a nice thing about doing 4 passes is you get more time to enjoy the brush on your face. You get more time to enjoy the lather on your face. I did buy this brush used, but I don't think it was used too many times. I think I did. Pretty sure I did. And as you can see, I've just put on the 4th pass, and I've still got 3 or 4 passes of lather in there. So I definitely did not need to go for 30 seconds, right? Definitely start reducing that pretty quick in the month. Man, I've got a bad case of poison ivy on me, guys. That really stinks. So this is very comfortable right here. So I've had to change the way I shave because of this Nacet getting old. I'm not able to use some razors with it. I've had to add that 4th pass almost always. And lately, ever since maybe I was in the 350s or 370s, I've had to add an against the grain pass right here in this trouble area, because this secondary cross grain that I was doing is not getting the job done, not getting it cut as close as I want. So obviously we are experiencing a change in the blade. It's just changing very slowly, and I do love fighting that myth that blades are only good for 5 shaves. like some people think. And I've encouraged people to work on their technique and to get better technique. And even if they don't choose to take a blade to 50 uses, then maybe they're taking it to 15 and they're enjoying those 15 shaves more than they have the 3 or the 5 shaves that they would do for a blade, because of their the upgrade in their style, in their technique. And I'm really happy about that. Now, at first with the Nacet, I had mild razors, kind of like the A and the B on the Karve spectrum. Gillette Vintage Tech, those sorts of things. And this lather is just, it's perfect. It's tremendous. Let's think about the feel here for a second. And I had those milder razors, and I had to move away from them once I got maybe to about 50 uses or so, because they started pulling a little bit. And so I moved to more aggression. And that extra gap usually is how it was made possible. And then that extra aggression made the Nacet blade last longer. Well, the against the grain pass that I'm about to do, I can't do that with the aggressive razors. And so I've had to fall back in these upper limits here of usage on the Nacet. I've had to fall back to the more mild razors, because then I get that ability to safely handle that against the grain. So we definitely haven't had any dissipation of the lather. It's kind of got some micro bubbles here that you do hear me talking about, but it leaves a nice soapy slickness behind as you're moving it around in your hand there. It does have a little bit of cushion, a little bit of resistance to squeezing, but mostly it's got that slickness. And it's not a luxuriously creamy, type of lather that's got a lot of density to it, but it leaves that kind of a light, silky, soapy feel behind. And that's why it's been an effective soap for so many years. It may not be the most luxurious, but it gets the job done. It feels nice on your face. It does feel luxurious on your face. It does feel slick and very enjoyable. But when you get down to the nitty gritty and you're looking at it in this kind of way, it may not look quite as spectacular. At least when you hydrate it as much as I do, it will look a little more dense, of course, if you don't have as much water in it. And even now, as I'm rinsing it away, a lot of that slickness is taking a second to get off my fingers, and that's just what makes it a good soap. It keeps it doing its job. All right, so now for this 5th pass down here, I'm going to do the cross grain over here. Kind of my normal stuff over here. And then this business right here is the tough spot. So what I'm going to do is come at it, instead of a pure with the grain, which would, against the grain, which would be kind of up like this, I'm going to come at it at 2 different angles. Like right here, I'm going to soften the angle just a little and come at the one side like that. Now, one thing it's not changing about my technique with this marathon blade versus any other blade, soft, light touch. Keeping that the same. And that's why I'm able to switch back and forth between this guy and any other razor and any other blade that I have. I've had other marathon guys they've learned to press on their razor, then they switch back and they cut themselves on a new blade. Okay, then instead of doing the straight against the grain here, I'm going to tilt it a little bit, kind of come at it from the other side. And let's just try this, and it's a lot more comfortable. And so let's just see how that does. Yeah, that feels nice and close, but we'll look at it in just a second. Very cool. And there we go. What I'm looking for is a reasonably close shave, where at 80% of the jobs out there, you'd be able to go into and not be regarded as poorly shaven. And that's kind of my standard. And then I'm going for reasonable comfort. I don't want it to be uncomfortable for on a consistent basis, or most of the shave. Generally the discomfort is only during that first pass, and it's usually just kind of a light discomfort that you kind of get used to. I'm not stropping the blade or anything like that. All right, so yeah, boy, I sure did enjoy this brush today. So I'm looking forward to that, putting 31 uses on that, watching it, seeing how it may mature. So let's rinse that out and I'll show it to you guys after I strop it. So I just finished on the towel and you can see it's not really splaying open very much. I believe this guy has around maybe 25, no, more like 30 or 40 uses on it, I think. You can look in the details of the description of the video there and it'll see an approximation. And I bet over the course of the month, we're going to, after a good towel stropping there, we're going to see it develop a little bit more splay. There are a few split tips around, but not really very many at all. And so the fact that it's enjoyable to use right now it's just going to get even better as we go on. Not using any type of accelerator. I'm definitely not going to blow dry it, or I just work it on the towel just to kind of a stropping motion just to dry it out really. And I'm not doing that. I didn't do that long soak method or anything, just using it, and I think it's going to work out well. And my reasoning is I think that more mild break-in, like just using it, is going to help the tips to break in the safest way possible. Break meaning I meant to say split, because we want that one tip to come out. And I've seen them do 5 tips in some cases, and the more tips you get, the more softness you get, and that's what we're going for with the boar brushes. All right, well, that's the first one. Very cool. The Nacet did its job, and we're starting another run here, and by the end of the month, maybe, and it's Myrna 183, I believe, is the wet shaver on the wet shaving subreddit, who got to like 425, 426 with his blade. It was not a Nacet, it was something else. And so we're going to see if we can break that if we can. He did hand strop or some type of strop his to keep his blade fresh, and I think he had more comfortable shaves during most of his time than I did, but we'll just see what happens. And so now the splash, it looks like this set was purchased at Pasteur's Pharmacy in New York City. Man, it would be great to live near the Maggard Razors store, physical brick and mortar store. Go in there and browse, and Pasteur's kind of the same way, man. It'd be good to go in there and just smell all kinds of stuff. Hey, listen, I don't know if they have these kind of things, but if you go to a place like that, take a little bag of coffee beans with you. Any good scent place is going to have something there. It can help to neutralize your palate, your nose palate, because after you smell 5 or 6 things, your nose is just going to go blind. It's going to get overloaded, and then nothing's going to smell right after that. But if you use like coffee is a pretty good neutralizer. If you have a coffee scent that you're able to kind of inhale for a little while, and then you can come back to smelling things. That's a little pro tip there. Oh man, yeah, and this does have just a little bit of burn, but during this month of Austere August, I usually kind of get used to that menthol burn and the alcohol. So another part of the challenge that they've put out, Walligator mentioned it today, is that the spray here, do one, if you're in the first week of Austere August, then do 1 spray. And if you're in the second week, do 2 sprays of the cologne. And so forth. So now I like to do a spray on each wrist, so I'm just gonna do that. And then, oh man, the smokiness just jumped out at me right there. It didn't happen too much in the splash, and I didn't catch the smokiness in the soap. Oh, but it blasted me right there. I love smoke in a soap scent. Admiral has it, and there's a couple others that do, and I mean like a good wood burning smoke, not like cigarette smoke. All right, so there we go. That's our Midnight Stag. Art and Chewbacca is the one who had this set before me and used it during the Lather games during one of those days, and he may have actually used it during to achieve his own Midnight Stag Austere August challenge maybe in past years. And so we'll just continue that tradition. It's an honor to keep using it, especially for he donated it. I mean, he didn't everything that was used to pay for it went right to an Operation Kindness charity to help, kind of stranded animals, and to find homes and to get care and things like that. Because that's kind of something that's near and dear to his heart. And it was also in honor of 120 and a 55 who passed away this year, and he was also very mission-minded regarding the caring for animals and things like that. So pretty cool to carry on in that tradition. I knew I forgot something. I forgot to bring my Sharpie down, but I do have a ballpoint pen here, so I'm going to ballpoint pen in the dot today. So it's kind of barely there, and we'll put a Sharpie dot on top of that when I get this up to the Sharpie. So there we go. What a good shave. We made a lot of lather. We had the 30 seconds of loading and about 21 milliliters of water used, and that was pretty much it. It ended up to be a perfect lather for me today. All right, in one sense it's sad not to use and pick from my soap collection for this next month, but in another vein, I enjoy just the simplicity of not having to, like today, I'm able to travel and I didn't have to pack tons of soap. I just got my Midnight Stag and keep it simple, and it's a wonderful thing just to enjoy the soap base and to dial it in and be able to work with it consistently. And then it just helps you look forward to your choices later on. And then also, unlike some people who have done the Midnight Stag challenge, I really like the scent. I'm a big fan of the scent. I hope that this EDP that I put on my wrists, I hope that tomorrow I'm still going to be able to smell it. This is a night shave here, and I look forward to just enjoying it throughout the day and using it. I may refresh my scent application with the EDP. Who knows? But I'm just a big fan of the scent. I think Stephen Joyner has got the idea right. Midnight Stag is a wonderful scent. It's manly. It's got a lot of thickness and gravitas, and very interesting mix in there that I just enjoy so much. It's right up my alley as well. All right, you guys, take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I hope that you enjoy the Midnight Stag shaves this month, and I hope there's been something in this shave to help you out. You guys, take care. Good night.